Hi and welcome to another Tuesday tip, and today I'm going to show you how to get really nice sharp edges on your buttercream cake. So to start with, you're going to need a cake that's been crumb coated, and it's really important that you know how to crumb coat a cake properly, and if you want to know how to do that, then in the description box below we'll put a link to a crumb coat Tuesday tip, so make sure you check that out because it really does start from there. If you've got a nice sharp crumb coated cake, this is going to be a lot easier. So let's pretend that you do have one of those, because I do, and we've also got some really nice soft buttercream here. Just going to give it a really good whip first, because it does sometimes get kind of air bubbles in it and you don't want any of those going on your cake. So first of all, we need to get the icing on the cake, and I'm going to do that using this large straight palette knife. I'm just going to take a nice big blob of icing and I'm going to put it on the side. So as you can see, when I'm doing this, I'm working in this one area of the cake. I'm using the turntable the whole time because it's so much easier than trying to sort of spread icing on all over when you can't see. So first tip from me would be to get a turntable. They're really cheap and they're super useful for all your cake decorating needs. And you can see I'm applying quite a lot of icing, and you might think that's maybe a little bit too much, but don't worry, we're going to smooth it all off in a little while. It's just a lot easier to start with more and scrape it off than to not put enough and try to add bits to it. So once you've got it all around the sides, don't worry about smoothing it out yet. We need to put some on top, and simply just grab another blob of icing, pop it on top and spread it around. If you've got a cranked palette knife, then swap to that because it's much easier to use on flat surfaces. With the large one, you can find that your hand is kind of brushing through the icing. The cranked one just raises your hand off the top of the cake. And again, using the turntable the whole time, you'll find this makes it a lot easier. And then just before we start smoothing it off, just make sure that the whole cake is covered in icing. You've not got any holes anywhere, which is looking good, and it's looking a bit messy, but that's absolutely fine, because now we're going to grab our cake smoother, which hopefully you will have. They're about 50p, something like that, really cheap. You can get them online or cake decorating shops, but they're the best thing that you can have, that and a turntable. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the cake smoother flat against the side of the cake. We're not going to go in like this because that's going to scrape and pull. We just want to smooth. So I'm going to rest the smoother against the side of the cake and use the turntable again, so I'm not moving my arm, I'm moving the cake instead. And when you're smoothing your cake out, you'll make sure that your smoother is completely vertical. If it's at an angle like this or this, then the icing is going to do the same thing basically. And as you can see, I'm wiping my smoother every single time I've touched the cake. So I'm smoothing a little bit out, I'm scraping off the excess on the side of my bowl, and then I'm wiping the cake smoother because any excess that's on here is going to go back on your cake and it's going to be impossible to get it smooth. And so now we can start focusing on the all-important corners. Now as you can see, the icing is sitting kind of proud of the cake because when we were smoothing it, it's pushing it outwards, and that's perfect. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to do this simple cutting action. So what I mean by that is we're not going to smooth it over the top, we're literally going to have our smoother cutting into the center of the cake. And then again, wipe off your excess every single time because it's going to be impossible to get sharp, like nice corners if you've got loads of excess icing on your smoother. And I'm literally working on a tiny bit of the cake at a time, so sort of the width of my cake smoother. I'm not trying to smooth the whole thing at once. And that's it, a really nice sharp clean edge on your buttercream cake. And it's really simple, you just need a few little tools like a cake smoother and a turntable. They're really cheap, but they're going to be great investments for you if you really want to get awesome looking cakes. And also the crumb coat as well, that's really important, so do make sure you check out that video as well. We'll be back in another couple of weeks with another tip for you, and Gemma will be back on Thursday.